I ain't afraid no more. I ain't afraid today. And if the words are clear, I know that I can say, busting out the rules that they control, busting out a love that's in my soul, busting out a dream that won't be sold. I said no to busting fear, busting fear, busting fear.
Well, thank you, Bobby, for that
Ah.
wonderful tune that just
You're
plays
welcome.
in my head, and I just think so much about that song.
Makes me feel so good, Carol.
Oh, thank you. That's
Thank
just
you.
beautiful. I know that those words are very significant, not only for the show, but obviously that's part of your journey too.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is
So
for all of us.
Thanks for revealing that part to us.
Oh, thank you
Sure.
for letting me, Carol.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us on Busting Fair. This is a live call-in talk show over the internet, and the number is 360-693-7544, 360-693-7544. Last week I was not able to be here because we had to do a show at the New Living Expo down in San Mateo, and one of the gals that helped out fractured her elbow, so I had to help out and go down there on kind of the spur of the moment. And then Dixie was so wonderful to fill in, and she recruited Annie, and Tim jumped in, and I just want to say how thankful I am that she was able to do that. Dixie is not with us tonight because she's taking care of some of her property that needs to be attended to. She wants to get that sold. And then Sue is also here. She's going to be gone for about 2 months.
Yeah.
So hopefully, as I go through things that are on my mind, she will jump in and say something really memorable so that the viewers know in a couple of months she'll be back with more to share,
Yes,
hopefully, on her
yes.
journey.
Whole lot. A new grandson.
A new grandson. Yay.
New grandson.
So I want to share some things I observed last week when we were in San Mateo. That's about a half hour south of San Francisco. And we were demonstrating the product that we have for our business. And what I noticed about the people is that they were so happy. They were happy people. That's the first time I've seen so many happy people at a show, and yet people still, they look like anybody here in the Pacific Northwest. They have the same experience, you know, I don't have any money and that sort of thing. But it was interesting. People would sit down on the chair mat and start talking to me, and they would share their journey, not their story. It was very interesting. And so I learned some things from those people. There was this one older gentleman. He must have been 80 or better, and he was small and he was very frail, and he was kind of have that older gentleman shivers, you know, some people get older. And he sat down and he just started talking about theosophy, and I know what theosophy is. I did a little bit of studying it on myself, and he'd been studying it probably for 50 years, and he was just so rich with that philosophy that he made sense out of his experience in the world. It was just wonderful, and I'm thinking, I hope I feel at that much liberty when I'm that age to be able to share my philosophy so freely and just not care what anybody thinks. Mike's laughing at me. He thinks I always say what I think, but I don't. I really do keep some things to myself because I am apprehensive, and I really need to get over that and break out of that. One thing I will say, they had some meditation sessions going on down there, and there were also speakers. And one thing I'd like to say about meditation is it's never worked for me. I've tried all kinds of different meditations, doesn't work. But what does work for me, and what I believe meditation truly is being present every moment that you can and being aware of what is happening in that present moment. and not checking out, not being worried about the future, not being worried about the past, but being present and expressing yourself in the best self that you are in that moment. And that's not always easy. That can be challenging. But for me, that's how I do my meditation. I work at being present and being in the moment. And that was nice because I could be there with those people in San Mateo as they shared their story. And the other thing that was interesting, they had a band come in on Saturday night and started to play, and it was music I had never heard before. It was, I couldn't even describe it, but it was just very interesting. And as soon as they started playing, men ran up and just started dancing without a partner. Then women ran up and started dancing without a partner. These people were just dancing because they were happy. They weren't waiting on anybody. It's not like you go into a bar here, and I've seen this many times, the guys just standing around drinking, watching. Well, what's the point of that? I don't get it. Anyway, but they chose to participate in the event and express themselves. There was just no fear, no care, didn't care what anybody think. There was nobody acting lewd or rude. They were just there dancing in joy, and it was really wonderful to see people expressing themselves in that fashion, because I've never seen that anywhere before, ever. So I just want to say how much I appreciate that experience.
Nice.
Anything you share along those lines?
No, but I did that. Hey, I went to a wedding when we were in California, and it was my nephew's wedding, and I got up and danced freely, and I had a aunt of the bride, who I'm not related to, said, "Right on, Sue," because I was ready to party. I had a good time. It was really fun, and
Awesome.
I got up and danced when nobody else was dancing, and
Wow.
yeah, well, that's not new for me. I liked
Oh.
it. I like, when you're getting the atmosphere of having fun, I can do that. I know how to have fun.
Well, I didn't know that about you. Another secret.
Yeah, another
Ooh,
secret. But
okay.
yeah. And I'm
Okay.
not a great dancer, but hey, it doesn't matter. It's about
Well,
having fun.
There's a principle or a saying somewhere in the Bible that says, make a joyful noise before the Lord. And I think there are times when, we
I've heard that one.
need to express our joy just because we're joyful.
Uh-huh.
And
Right.
because we are oftentimes burdened with the cares of this world and the horrors and the tragedy that are
And
occurring in
judgment.
this. Yes, and judgment.
from others. Yeah.
Yes. The other thing I got to sit in on was, if you're a fan of Coast to Coast AM, hosted by George Norrie, there was a panel, and it included David Wilcock, Daniel Brinkley, Michael Barra, I think it's Mike Barra, and then two women. What was interesting about that is that the men were talking about things externally. The two women were sharing things internally about their process, their teaching, what they're doing, and they had a very different way of expressing themselves. What was interesting, Mike Barra was, I guess he's written a book exposing the lies of NASA or something, and so someone wrote up a question and says, Mike Barra, say something about NASA in 5 words or less. And he said, don't believe anything NASA says. So isn't that interesting? I think that he would come to that conclusion. Now, I'll show you the theme here of what the men were saying. Then Daniel Brinkley, of course, he's written the book Saved by the Light. He's had near-death experience 3 times, and someone asked him about, what it's like to have those near-death experiences. He says, what's more relevant is that I've lived 4 times. Think about that. Yeah, he's lived 4 times. Again, folks, this is a live call-in talk show, through the internet. We hope that we have some viewers out there who would like to share their ideas or thoughts or techniques for busting through fear. 360-693-7544. 360-693-7544. Now, continuing on what Daniel Brinkley said, he at one time was in a coma for about 48 hours. It was quite severe if he would recover. And he said he went to the space of where the ghosts hang out, where the sociopaths hang out, where the psychopaths hang out. And I'm going, oh, he's hitting so close on my topic. And then he talked a little bit about the wars. He works with veterans that are about to pass over. That's a great work of compassion. He's doing that because I guess he was a pretty dark side character when he worked for, I think it was the CIA or something like that. And so this is how he's redeeming himself, but that's his journey. But and he made a mention about all the wars and unnecessarily sending people in to battle. And I had a experience with a gentleman who called me on the phone to place an order. And he had been in the first Iraq War, and he went over there when he was 49 years old. And so he's on the phone telling me exactly what I'm going to do and how I'm going to get his order to him, how I'm going to ship it, what order I'm going to take all this information in. And I'm going, wait a second, we have protocols here I have to follow to be able to move through this. Then his voice started getting shaky, and he says, you know, I can talk to some people, and other people just really get me all discombobulated. I got to go take my medicine. And I had never interacted with a PTS soldier before. His voice was literally shaking. He was very fearful. My heart went out to him, and I knew there was nothing I could do for him. And I'm thinking how horrible it is that they have to go to a war. And he said, you know, we went to war so that you could carry on your business and do these things. And I'm thinking, I don't dare say to him, that's the lie they tell you. Mm-hmm. That's not the truth at all. And then David Wilcock, of course, he does very interesting work, and he's really great at seeing metaphors in movies. And as I'm listening to these men talk, I'm thinking they're talking about psychopathic systems, and they don't realize it. I wanted to stand up and shout, you're talking about psychopathic systems. So I wrote a note. I have a question to be asked of David Wilcock, because I figured he would be the one to most understand what I would talk about. And I figured, well, you know, the divine's in charge. If that message is supposed to get up there, it'll get up there. So I just kind of sat back. Of course, my question wasn't read, so moving on. And then the other thing that was that kind of came to my mind as we were traveling, I had been 2 weeks ago on Sunday, I had been standing doing the dishes, and Bobby Lee's song "Busting Fair" just kept running over and over and over in my mind, but the words changed a little bit in what I heard. And so I thought, well, what is that about? And as I thought about these 4 words that came to my mind, I thought, but there's a process between this and this. There's a process to get from here to there. And then I got to thinking about my life and all the help I have had during my life that is somewhat unexplainable. I started off in Pentecostal Christianity, and the people there, it was like family. We took care of each other. We helped each other. We, if someone was sick or in the hospital, or someone needed money to pay their bill, they were taken care of. So I grew up in that kind of Pentecost. And the people, it was a family, and we'd go have dinner with each other. We'd have, you know, their family sorrows were our sorrows, and, you know, you prayed for each other. You took care of each other. And then I ended up in that cult-like experience, but it became a cult experience after that. And I realized just recently that pastor was likely a sociopath. Mm. That's just another derivative of a psychopath. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, I got blown out of that church in a very, very shocking manner, because that's what sociopaths and psychopaths do. They think they make you seem as if though they are your friend, and then they'll turn on you in an instant and cut you off and really try to destroy you. So when I left that event, I had this question in my mind: how am I going to rebuild a life? How am I going to get new friends? because I had no one outside of that church environment. Well, I have found as I have moved on through my life, I've had friends come and go, and I just keep moving. And I realize I've had to let people go and be open for new people to come on board, because it seems that's how it does. It's just rotating for me. And when I was blown out of that church cult experience, it was extremely difficult. It was like I'd been there for 17 years. And thank you. We have one viewer so far, folks. Call in, viewer, 360-693-7544. We're going viral. One viewer. It's a start. 360-693-7544. And that experience, there's probably 120 people that I left.
Wow.
And it was like a family there, too.
But what was it that made you feel like it was a cult? I mean,
it became,
about this minister.
Oh, the control. I mean, you had to get permission to get married. You had to get permission to buy a house. You had to get permission to buy a car. You couldn't do anything without the pastor's permission.
Is that normal for that particular type of religion?
It wasn't a formal religion. It was an independent.
Oh. Okay.
And there were things going on behind the scenes with the pastor that were totally inappropriate. I had no idea.
But not in the Pentecostal church.
No, this wasn't the Pentecostal one.
Oh.
This is the one that we left, and I started when I was about 17 years old.
Okay.
So, and during that time, I had my friend Don. I had gotten to know Don very well, and we went through everything together. He was really a mentor to help me through that very painful time in my life. And Don was my best friend for 35 years. And 6 days before he died, I realized I had been gifted with a mentor for 35 years. Who gets that? I didn't even ask for it. He was just available. And then after I left that space, I believed in nothing. I went, I guess you could say, like Adrian, I went agnostic. And I found that if I didn't look for God or Satan, I didn't find them. But if I looked for them, I could find them. And so you get what you look for. At least this is my experience. So I did that for about 10 years. I just had to have a time to heal and do nothing. And then we got into metaphysics. And Sue, that's all your fault.
It is, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So that was probably about 1996 or so, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Mike
around there.
had been talking about this person. He had read these Alice Bailey books and these DK, and I don't even remember how we met. Was it through that Gary?
Through that
That wanted to start that
no,
channel?
yes.
Was that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we rode together. We had
Yes.
a woman that picked us up, and we rode together. And of course, you start talking and
Yeah.
sharing. And of course, I shared my experiences.
Yes.
And you went, "Wow, Michael would be really interested in this." And
Yes.
I shared one of his lectures with
Yes.
you, and then of
Oh.
course you loved it and shared it with Michael.
I think it was the one about the chicken, all the hearts. The
Could have been. I thought it was actually consciousness. I thought it had to do with the cells.
Yeah.
The cells of consciousness.
Maybe.
Yeah. And it being vaster.
Do you remember, Mike?
The brain.
The brain.
Yeah.
Talk about the cells becoming photons
Yeah.
becoming cells and cells becoming brain. And 10,
Yes.
Basically 10 million.
On
Yeah.
and on.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And so we did that journey for a while, and then we found out, and Mike had said something about he would like to get in touch with Master Kutumi. I found a flyer in a bookstore, and I gave it to Mike, and so we
Yeah.
went off on that journey for a while too, and that was very interesting. And then I studied Kilanta science. I did that for a while too. That was very mind strenuous to understand that philosophy, and and the reason that came about is because for the next phase that I was going to go into was to study A Course in Miracles, which has absolutely revolutionized my life, my thinking, my how I live my life, how I am who I am. And that doesn't mean I don't have my challenges, but it's been such a good thing to help to heal the mind that was so hurt and understand that trauma that is brought forth in our life, to learn how to not be that
Right.
type of character. So, and so I had listened to Coast for years, and then I heard all day long, listen to Coast to Coast, listen to Coast to Coast. And I did, and I turned it on, and it was Gary Renard, and I was listening to what he had to say, and I could tell the host, George Norrie, was not getting what
And
Gary
Gary
was saying.
Renard wrote,
The Disappearance of the Universe.
yeah,
And
amongst other books.
yes, amongst Your Immortal Reality and Love Has Forgotten No One. And I've read all of them. I've listened to his lectures. And that got me into studying A Course in Miracles. But what was interesting, when Gary Renard was on George Norrie, and I could tell that George Norrie was not getting what Gary Renard was saying, and I was getting it. It's just
Yeah.
like, this is what I needed next, but I didn't know I needed next.
Yeah.
So kind of vicariously through reading his book, and then that leading me to A Course in Miracles, I got another mentor teacher that I had no idea that's where I needed to go next. And I tell you, practicing forgiveness is so mind freeing. And there's a practice that Gary calls fearless forgiveness. Anytime fear comes up, it needs forgiveness. And I'm telling you, that has made such a difference in closing down the chatter in my mind, so that I can actually perceive how the divine is talking through, say, a song or a movie or
Or you.
well okay. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate it. And so the metaphors, I think the divine speaks to us in metaphors. And it's a matter of being able to be aware of where the metaphors come from. And I'll never forget that day. I was just driving in my car, and I heard Selena come on and say, "I love you like a love song." Sing that, "Love you like a love." Oh, that's a message from the divine. Oh, that's wonderful. And then right after that, we found love in a hopeless place, because I've been thinking how hopeless this existence can be. I watched The Underground last week, and there was a discussions on, I think, socialism, capitalism, maybe, I don't know if they brought up fascism. But it's not, those are ideals. They are ideals that will function, but the problem is the psychopaths use that as a mask. That's why it goes south and becomes a horror to people, is they hide, the psychopaths in the system hide behind that. And the latest metaphor I've come up with, folks, that I was standing in the shower today getting ready, and I realized vampires are a metaphor for psychopaths.
Yeah, vampires. I would say that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
Bram Stoker brought that up. I got a couple of things here.
They're feeding
Yay!
off of others.
Phone call. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, you're on Busting Fear.
Hello, Busting Fear.
Thank you.
I have a question for Sue.
Okay.
So, she is cute as a bug's ear. Is she single?
Sorry, no. Her husband's sitting in the audience.
Husband?
Yeah.
That Adrian.
Well, put him on the line. I want to have a talk with him. What's his name?
Gary.
You want me to become
Put
animated,
Gary
don't
on the
you?
line. I want to talk to this guy.
Gary.
Girl.
Gary. Adrian wants to talk to you. He wants to take Sue from you. Are you down with that?
I'm going to come in there and swoop her away.
Okay.
Like a gust of wind.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like breaking up the energy. Okay.
So you put Gary on the line. I want to hear him say what he's got to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, this is
All right, I'll take my answer off the air.
this is kind of planned. Anyway,
I'll be waiting for him in the parking lot.
whoa.
All right.
Thanks, Adrian,
Have
for
a good
the
night.
thanks for the lead in. Anyway, I had to do something because this is our 39th wedding anniversary today.
Oh,
So I just wanted to
Aww.
really say it on national TV, right?
Oh.
Or streaming TV.
Aw.
But yeah, it's been 39 years, and I still think of you as when I saw you walking down the hallway at the company we used to work for.
Yeah.
I still said the same thing, and you know, through all my issues and everything else, now it's just really I couldn't have found anybody better.
Oh, thank you.
So happy anniversary, dear,
Thank you.
and
Come
happy
here.
anniversary.
You always do such nice things. He's the romantic. Oh, thank you so much.
All right.
did you bring treats?
No, I didn't have time.
Oh,
We brought tacos.
yeah.
That used up the 2 minutes.
Sue, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, talk about a journey. Being married 39 years, because I can remember when I was first married to Gary, and there was a group of us women who we were newly wedded, and probably the first year of our marriage, and we were sitting around with all the ladies and going, can you imagine being married for 20 years? And I'm like, oh, hell no. And it's been way longer than 20 years. It's been, as he said, 39 years. And it hasn't been so bad. We've had our ups and downs. And I think actually some of this is probably the harder stuff, you know, with his heart issues, you know. But I love you. And he's been a good husband to me. Faithful as all heck, which I appreciate and loved everything about that. It meant a lot to me.
Mike,
Mike chimed in because you don't know.
that you,
That was
it was
Adrian.
you, Mike.
But anyway, yeah, don't ruin the moment. Yeah, anyway, yeah. I'm boiling. Turn on the air.
Yeah, we need some air conditioning. Somebody donate an air conditioner or air filter or something. It's kind of stuffy down here.
Yeah, scorcher. Yeah. Thanks for the surprise.
Well, I want to say thank you to all the crew that supports putting on this show, all the people in the Whisper Room, the audience, the 3 audience members tonight, the camera people, who are also part of the audience members, the people that make the sound, the pictures, and direct the camera, and Bobby Lee, of course, for helping us out. That's such a wonderful surprise, something so totally unexpected. So we have a couple of minutes left if anybody out there wants to call in.
Were you going to
Talk about,
introduce that?
yes, here's the book. So someone can get in on, zoom in on that. Is that in a good position? Okay. It's called Beyond Fear by Don Miguel. Well, it's not by Don, but it's about his life. He's the gentleman that wrote The 4 Agreements. Actually, The 4 Agreements would be a really good book. Never make assumptions. Always ask questions. And I forget the other 2.
So do I. But I did read that a long time
Never take
ago.
anything personal, right? Always do your best. There's something else. I don't think always do your best.
Yes.
Is it? Is it? Okay. Yeah, I like the idea, never make assumptions, always ask questions. And he talks about a form of black magic when you disparage or talk bad or say things unkind. Okay. Say things that are unkind, he calls black magic. That's his words, not mine. But I'm starting to read this book, Beyond Fear, and I'll be discussing some of these points in his book coming up on future shows. Okay, so Sue, we've been directed to keep talking till Bobby Lee starts coming in, and
Bobby.
there he is.
Happy anniversary, Sue and Gary. I ain't afraid no more. I ain't afraid today. And words are from my heart, and those are from my head. Busting out the rules that they control. Busting out a love that's in my soul. Busting out a dream that won't be so. I said no to busting fear. Busting fear.